Welcome to Skinside Out, where we uncover the science, trends, and truths behind skin health. Your trusted guide to the world of dermatology. This podcast is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional care by a doctor or other qualified medical professional.
Welcome to Skinside Out, where science meets beauty. I'm your host, Dr. Zain, with Heather and Courtney. So today we're talking about male skincare. So, Courtney, I want to start off with you. What are your thoughts on this topic?
Man expert. No. I think it's really refreshing to see a surge of men who want to take care of their skin. Not to get too into like the society standards, but for so long women have been conditioned to like look their best, feel their best, and it's really interesting to see men feeling more connected to that and wanting to also look their best. And like I said, I think it's been refreshing. So that being said, I do think it's important to understand that men's skin is different than women's skin, so they are treated a little bit differently.
How are they different?
Usually there's more oil production. There's also, other things, not from a skincare perspective, but like Botox, for example, the anatomy is different. You inject differently. Yeah. And I don't think anybody really wants to do a in-depth 7-step skincare routine, especially males. So it's nice to kind of find ways to keep it simple, but also effective.
Yeah, I think simplicity is key with men.
Me too. Just gotta tell them what to do.
Yeah, we are simple creatures. We're not complicated. And most of my male patients want it to be just a few steps, easy to follow. It gets really complicated when you have like 10 steps in your skincare routine. I don't think that's practical with male patients. So I really kind of hone in on the essentials. You need a cleanser, you need a moisturizer, you need a sunscreen at the baseline. Then we can kind of add in some actives. So I really like adding in a vitamin C serum, a retinol, and then it depends on their goals, and we can kind of go on, add on like an eye cream, and whatever their concerns are, we can always modify. But I find that a lot of my male patients, they get overwhelmed very easily.
Yeah, exactly. I would say I probably have about 30% of my client base is males, and compared to a few years back, I was probably at like a 10%. But I think more men are doing facials for sure, and I think that's such an easy way for men to like get their foot in the door about how to learn about some of that stuff, and maybe what they might need further than facials, like microneedling, lasers, things like that. But I do think that men have gravitated towards services.
Absolutely. And I think that in the past, like 20 years or so, that whole metrosexual kind of movement, it's becoming much more mainstream. It's not taboo to talk about cosmetics and how to look your best. And I'm really proud of most men to kind of embrace that and not be shy about it.
I just think of the Zeo Man poster. They have one poster, and it's Zeo Man, and we used to have it in one of my bathrooms at work. And that man was like, he was a good looking man, but he was staring you down while you're like going to the bathroom. You're like, okay, but it's just funny because
Courtney, you liked it.
It was a good poster. He was attractive, but yeah, it's funny. Like Zeo Man, I feel like was kind of like, it was one of the first times that they'd kind of like put forward like towards men. Yeah. Like an ad towards men. Yeah.
And I know that, some of the other aesthetic companies have also been gearing ads specifically towards men. And I think it's really smart to, go after that population. We know that women definitely are the majority in the aesthetic space as consumers, but there's the other half of humanity that you can be like focusing on. And it's a huge market that's often untapped.
I think there are not a lot, but there are some men still that will come in and they have a concerning spot on their face, and they're really just there because their wife or their girlfriend or their spouse or partner made them the appointment. But then I think there are a lot of people, and I think it's turning to be the majority of people or men that come in with those concerns, it's more so they want that for themselves. And I think that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think for a while, especially in like the cosmetic realm, especially, toxin fillers, men thought, oh, well, I don't want to look feminine. And, going back to what you were saying about different anatomy, how providers treat men with toxin filler, again, is going to be different. Women might want that kind of like brow lift to have that more like foxy eye look, but you're not going to do that on a man. I mean, a man's not going to appreciate that kind of look. Or, again, slimming of the jawline, a woman might want that. That's a more feminine feature. But there are techniques on, to treat men that won't have those same results that women are seeking.
I think there are some males just with kind of the broad like sexuality and preferences. There are some people that do want that like foxy eyebrow, but it's generally like the classic way is to have that kind of deeper broad.
And that's why it's so important when you're with your patient to have a discussion about what their goals are.
Yeah.
You can't just assume that a man wants to look like, your stereotypical like Hollywood, star. Like there's a huge spectrum, gender fluidity. Like you really need to kind of have an idea of what they're looking for, especially in this day and age. So in terms of skincare, like there are certain skincare lines that are geared towards men. Talk to me about that. How different are they from female skincare products?
I think going back based on like the oil production, I think, number one, and the simplicity. I think of the line like Kiehl's, for example. That's such like a hit amongst men. I know so many of my male patients who use that line, and I think it's a fair line. It's nothing special in my opinion, but I think a little bit of it honestly is marketing. I think how things are packaged can affect that, but I think also just going back to how the skin is. I mean, a man's not going to want something that feels heavy on their skin. Whereas I think more females are kind of into that, wanting to feel moisturized. Men don't like having like stuff on their skin, I've found. So, so I think how it's formulated sometimes can change.
I think one of my favorites is Revision because you can actually layer them and mix them all together. Like you could literally pump your serum, your boosting.
I've actually never done that.
Yeah, and you mix it all together and you can put it on. Or you can just, put one layer on, put the other one on before it has time to absorb, and it'll still be just as effective.
I like how they simplify things like in their DEJ line.
Yeah.
DEJ day.
Yeah.
DEJ day. And I actually often recommend it to my male patients. I'm like, how can you screw that up?
Yeah. Well, they have like a few different things within it, which is nice for
it's a combination, keeps it easy. They still get the ingredients that will help their skin while not making it too complicated.
Yeah. And it's funny because even sunscreen, like I feel like, 10 years ago, you'd ask like a guy like, oh, do you wear sunscreen? No. Like they thought of that as like a skincare product and not necessarily as like a skin health product or, something that they really should be doing from like a health standpoint. Yeah. But now I feel like most men are pretty good about their sunscreen, which again is encouraging.
Yeah. And I always tell male patients that if you have to pick one skincare product, sunscreen, that'll keep you looking young. It'll prevent skin cancer. It just has so many benefits. So we've seen a lot of female celebrities coming out with their own skincare lines. We're starting to see them with males as well.
I know. Someone's been working with, is that a secret?
No.
Okay. I don't want to out anyone here.
But, like, for instance, like Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, he's got his skincare line, Papatui. And, we're probably going to see more and more of these celebrity male skincare products, which will probably normalize, skincare for men and make it more accessible and more comfortable for, guys to really get on a good skincare regimen. So things are changing.
Yeah, I think so. I'm still waiting on you to bring The Rock into our office. So.
Hopefully.
But yeah, and I think men probably feel better sometimes knowing that it's coming from another guy. Again, it's like, you're not going to, I don't know, you're going to be more inclined to buy from a guy who has nice skin like The Rock.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I also find that as a dermatologist, being a male, I find that my patients feel more comfortable talking to me about these kind of things. some bro code, rather than a female provider. So they just are more open to talking about that. So maybe like, they'd be open to seeing a female provider like for their skin check and medical care. I mean, I do that as well, but I thought about Botox.
I like that. Don't take that, anyone. We're marketing that.
It's been out for like 20 years. But, they just kind of ask these questions, especially at the end of their visit. Like, I'm trying to like get out of there.
Yeah.
But, I just kind of spend a little bit of time just to kind of explain some of these things. And these are patients that are inquisitive. They want to know, they want to learn, and they want to look good. I mean, we are in a very visual, digital age. Everything is on screens. We're on social media. Everyone wants to look good. And, not everyone wants to put a filter on everything.
Yeah, I read some studies like that came out, after like 2020 COVID era, just with Zoom and how many people were, spending so much time on Zoom that they were looking at themselves like all day, and specifically just the uptick in like men who were, visually seeing themselves and felt, okay, I need to do something.
Yeah.
So
the Zoom face, it was a whole phenomenon, and it really had a incredible spike in aesthetic interest for men and women. And, it was an opportunity to really educate guys that there are things that you can do to make yourself look better and feel better about yourself. And also kind of have that competitive edge on markets and, work environments that are, cutthroat. So,
well, again, I mean, when you feel like you look good, you kind of show it. You are more inclined to maybe like ask things that you wouldn't normally ask or do things that you wouldn't normally do because you have that confidence. And so I think it's so important. I know we've seen it kind of like even with the hair transplants, that kind of elevation, the amount of people getting that done, or especially men doing that. And so I think it just kind of goes to show you that that trend is definitely kind of moving upwards.
Yeah. And I am not shy about talking about, cosmetic products and treatments that I've done. I feel that makes men even more comfortable to maybe dip their toes if they're interested. I've been, doing skincare since my acne days, right? Because I was just always trying to like treat my acne and with over-the-counter stuff, and that kind of evolved into more sophisticated routine, with more knowledge. And then also with cosmetic treatments, I've been doing that since residency. Like I started doing tox when I was like 26, and haven't stopped. And, I kind of embrace a lot of the technologies we have in my office. A lot of the services that we offer to our patients, I've done myself, or other staff members have done to me. And I think just normalizing that process makes it more comfortable for men to ask about these procedures.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys get this, but I would say 99%, I would say every single one of my male patients, they will ask the same question. Do you see a lot of guy patients, or like they want to know?
Am I the only one?
Yeah, am I the only one? I'm like, no, like I see a lot of male patients, but it's funny because they'll ask that, and I think they're just worried about how they'll be perceived, or maybe if they can talk to their friends about it, or a little bit of that. I think, not to go too deep, is tied to some toxic masculinity, and just, oh, you got to be a man, and you got to, you look gruff and rough, and you just age and silver, so I think I'm glad we're cutting back on that.
Yeah, for sure. And even in areas of, conceived masculinity, like say in like these barbershops and other service oriented places for men, we're starting to see services that, like they're adding in like the hand wax paraffin dips. They're doing, other things like cool, compresses and steam and all that stuff. So they're adding to that experience and, in regular male, kind of services. So it's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, that stuff feels good too. It's,
it's self-care, right?
It's self-care. Yeah.
And I think that's healthy. I feel like if you don't take care of yourself, your health obviously suffers, and you actually do look worse. I do. I mean, stress does kill.
Yeah, there's a guy at my nail shop that gets his monthly pedicures, and I love that man. He is just talk about self-care. He's like a self-care king, and he goes in, he does his like monthly like pedicure and manicure, and like he just does like the buffering and everything, and But he's like, yeah, this is like the best like part of my month, just coming in here and being
Aw.
pampered.
Closest I get to that is like my girls like
Painting your
my
nails. Yeah. I was like, he doesn't. Yeah, I will say he doesn't
Yeah.
have kids, but
They actually have this like a toy spa kind of foot bath type of thing, and like it turns on like bubbles and turns like lights and everything.
I'm sure they love it.
They love it, but it's like makes a huge mess. And yeah, but I do think that the times are changing, and I do think that it's a good thing because it is bringing skin health to the forefront. And as you know, society embraces these changes, I think that men will continue to be more comfortable in the space. And I'd be interested to see what it's going to be like in the next 15, 20 years. Like right now, it's like I don't know, like 90-10 split, right?
yeah.
When female versus males, I think, in the aesthetic industry, I think it's going to definitely change.
Yeah, I just I'm thinking back to like when I visited Pompeii, they have all these like bathhouses, and I just think back to like these like old like Romans and whatnot, and I feel like back then even they like took their like self-care so seriously, and I just remember like learning about all that, and like somewhere along the way, like I don't know, probably like World War I, I guess. Yeah, the Dark Ages. Like we're just shipping men off to war. Like that's your job. Just go fight and come back. Like
we're
or
back
don't.
into an enlightened era, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's like for so long we like kind of got away from that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that this was an interesting discussion. I feel like men are looking for opportunities to learn, and having information like this out there can make them feel more confident in taking more ownership of their skin health. So I think it's a good thing. And, it may also help them, establish good medical care for getting skin checks, things like that. So there's a lot of benefits that can come from this. So do you guys have any, parting words or conclusions?
No girl wants to date a man with nasty fingernails or nasty skin.
That's right. Take care of yourself. Absolutely. Yeah, that'll help your dating prospects.
Yeah.
And also, don't smell.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
by the way, girls will be impressed if you have a CeraVe cleanser in your bathroom. I will
That's
never
right.
forget. I went on a date with a guy years back, and that was like, I was like, oh my gosh, he's got a CeraVe cleanser. He's got Aquaphor. Like he knows what he's doing. That's a big selling point. So.
Cool. Well, if we don't have any other comments, I think that if we, have the opportunity to kind of revisit this topic in the future, I think it'll be interesting to see how things have evolved. But until next time, Skinside out.
Thanks for listening. This episode of Skinside Out is complete. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. For more tips, updates, and behind-the-scenes content, be sure to see what fun we're up to on TikTok. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Noor Dermatology and Aesthetics. Check us out online at noorderm.com. Discover why our patients give us 5 stars on Google. Call us today at 919-617-0717.